Hello, hello. How are you, my beautiful sister? Welcome back to the channel. This is Every Piece of Me Matters. I'm your host, Cindy Holden. And guess what? You are in a safe space. Yes, this is a safe space for women. What kind of women? All women who are ready to embrace every part of yourself. The pieces of you, perhaps, that you've been hiding, ignoring, for whatever reason, but you're in a safe space. I like to believe that it's a sacred space too. So, welcome back. If this is your first time, you're in the right place. And I believe that you will hear something that is said or expressed, or maybe even something in the comments that will be helpful to you as you embrace and come to know that every piece of you matters. So, on tonight, we're going to talk about, I've been saying it for the last few weeks, the parts of ourselves that we hide. I know something about that on a personal level. So, before we get started, as usual, I'm going to ask you to do something with me. For those of you who've been here, you know what that is already. Come on, sis, take a breath with me. Take a breath, however you want to take it, right? I'm not going to tell you any certain way. Maybe you hold it for 4 and exhale at 8, whatever it is. Just take a breath with me. You ready? I'm going to count to 3. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. I needed that. I'm unwinding from my day, my daily routine of sitting with people and holding a space for them to talk about the different parts of themselves too. So as we have exhaled, here's what I'm going to ask you to remind yourself. Every piece of you matters, right? Every piece of me, and you can tell yourself, every piece of me matters. The parts that I know, and even the parts that I don't know or understand, the parts I'm still learning about, the parts that are healing, and the parts that are still, I'll say, under construction. One thing I've come to know, if you can acknowledge every piece of you, guess what? Then healing is possible. Healing is possible, and wholeness. So as we kind of lean in, that's the word that I like to use, as we lean in here and talk about the parts of ourselves, the pieces of me that I've hidden. And guess what? For a lot of different reasons. Some of it is learned. We learn how to do it. I know for me, I'll say from an eye perspective, I learned how to hide the parts that I didn't think were so knowledgeable, right? Those parts that I'll just tell it like it is, the parts that I thought were really stupid, uninformed, the parts that I thought was too much, because you're always saying something. You always got something to say. You think you know everything. Be quiet. Yeah. So I learned how to shrink and silence that part. I think some of you know what I'm talking about. The part of, perhaps for some of you, you were told you were too much, you were too loud. Yeah. Think about it. What are some of the pieces of you that you learned how to hide? Maybe you were told, children should be seen and not heard. And so for you, that meant be invisible. Don't say anything. Just be quiet. So maybe that was hiding your voice, that part of yourself. And so whatever part that you, whether it's you learned to hide it, you were told to hide it, listen, every piece of you matters. And so tonight, let's explore that just a little bit deeper. I thought as I was preparing for this episode on tonight, I thought about a piece of me that I have hidden. And believe you me, there are many parts that I learned how to hide for a lot of different reasons. But there's one part that really connects into this theme that began to emerge, I would say, from my life as I grew up. I learned it early in childhood, and that was to be agreeable, be the peacemaker, keep the peace. Well, I can remember, and I won't even identify who it was, but a family member who would say, if somebody gives you something, just take it and be grateful for it. You know, there, of course, there was no turning it away or giving it away. And again, the idea or the concept behind it was with good intention. And so, but what I'll say it taught me again was to be agreeable. Again, there's no resistance, you know, not really speaking up to avoid conflict. You may say, how did that little teeny act, if you will, turn into all of that? Because for me, it was don't rock the boat. You know, just take what you're given. As far as speaking your mind, just be quiet and listen. Don't be, as I think about it, don't be mannish, you know, or another way of saying that is stay in a child's place. And that has some context. That content has some context, right, for that time where I was raised. But, you know, I came to believe that I did not belong and I was not accepted. And so I don't know how it translated into that for me, but it did. And so again, I didn't say a whole lot. I did a lot of listening, and it worked out for me in some ways as I matured and an adult. You know, I was always a good listener. People would talk to me, but I was also agreeable and afraid to express myself. I would shrink and I didn't want to be seen. I told myself I wanted to be in the background. And I think some of you know about that too. But here's something that really, really, I'll say it impacted me. And so I remember being in an organization. Well, I grew up in a church. I remember being in a church service, and in that particular service, it was like, you know, the singing and the message. It was really inspiring to the point where, like, I really felt good. And I was a teenager, and I remember, you know, I felt so good. I just remember lifting up my hands, and before I know it, I was up out of my seat. I was doing a holy dance, right? I was really feeling some kind of good. And so I remember someone came and they actually sat me down, right? And I kind of, you know, looked around and I was like, ooh, you know, but I thought to myself, right, I really feel good. And then there was like a whisper in my ear, you ain't have to do all that. It don't take all of that. If you could have seen yourself. And I'm going to tell you, that thing hurt me to my core, right? Like feelings of embarrassment, you know, shame and guilt. It was like, man, what did I do? You know? And so I internalized that. And again, perhaps the person was well-meaning. This is not an indictment against them, although at the time, oh my God, I was so hurt, you know. But I told myself that it didn't take all of that to be still, to be quiet, you know. In other words, my grandmama would say to quench the spirit, you know, to be seemingly, you have to keep things in order. And so that episode, I'll call it, that incident, it really it messed me up. I'm just going to tell it like a TI is. I allowed it to mess me up. And I would be, in services and I'm sitting there, I didn't want to clap my hands, Again, I told myself that I was too much. And I was, embarrassing people. I was acting unseemly. And so I hid a part of myself, that part that experienced freedom and liberty and rejoicing and expressing myself, in a way that I was praising God. And so the very small things that, we seem to hide for whatever the reason is, it translates into hiding ourselves and not being our true self, not being authentic. So, hey, I may have been pleasing other people, by being seemingly, not being out of order, but I was betraying myself. I was not authentic to myself expression. And again, that was a reoccurring theme in my life. I would sit and listen, and I knew that I have an answer or I had something to say. And then when people called on me, I was just sitting there like, like I had nothing to say. And so, what part of yourself have you been hiding? Perhaps you too received a message. Be quiet, you're too much, you're too loud, or you're not enough. Because sometimes that's what those words translate into. I'm not enough, or I'm too much. And so let me shrink. Let me dumb myself down, if you will. Whatever you've been telling yourself, whatever that part is that you've been hiding, can I tell you, that part has not gone away. Maybe you compartmentalized it, put it in the cabinet and filed it away, but somewhere that part of you is waiting to be seen. And so whether there's been embarrassment or hurt or shame or disappointment, whatever it was, even anger or resentment, because, I built up a lot of that too. Resentment about what I believed I could not do and who I believed was stifling that part of me. But in this process of healing and embracing every piece of me, I am learning that every part of me matters, and I don't have to hide any part. I don't have to wear a mask or hide out. I can embrace every part of me. So I'm asking you, what's that part that you've been hiding, that part of yourself that's in the file cabinet? I'm encouraging you to allow that part of yourself or those pieces of yourself to come forth. You know what I talked about a few weeks ago? Who are you really? And will the real you come forth? Allow those pieces to come out, to be seen, to be heard. Give yourself permission to speak up. Use your voice. Perhaps you were one of those who were told you were too loud. Listen, let your voice come forth and allow perhaps what was, let's say, designed to shut you up or keep you quiet or stifle you or make you feel like you were not enough. Break free and allow that part of you to be seen on today. There is beauty in every part of you, my sister. As women, we are socialized in different ways. Women should walk softly and quietly. That's one of the things. What is it? It's a man's world. Again, not getting into too much of that. I do understand being a believer, and usurping authority as it relates to submitting to, we're talking about a marriage, a husband and so forth, a man. I am not taking a look at dismantling or what is that? Can't think of that term right now. Not talking about against the man, but taking a look at how women are socialized differently than men. And so in many ways, we shrink ourselves down. So here is an opportunity, an invitation, if you will, to embrace every part of yourself and know that you matter and there is purpose. So if there was some type of brokenness or resentment or anger, whatever it is that comes up for you as you think about those parts of yourself that you hide, give yourself permission, starting today. I will stand up, I will speak up, I will uplift, I will allow my creativity, what the Creator has formed in me, I will speak forth and be all that I am created to be. I think you can do that. What about you? All right, so as we bring our time together to a close, I want to ask you to check in with yourself. What came up for you today? Can you remember an incident or incidents, things that happened, and you began to hide different parts of yourself? Creativity, whatever it is. Maybe there was a little resistance. Nah, I don't hide any part of me. I'm all of me. Okay. Yeah. And so taking a look at even the resistance and rolling with that. How can I come to be more? How can I do more? Right? Not do more in the sense of if I do more, I am more. But how can I embrace more of who I am and who I'm coming to be, so that it's not just enough for me, although it is, right, in that way, but what I have from my place of fullness, from my place of embracing every part of me, I can pour out and I can reach someone else so that they too can know that every piece of them matters. So just spend some time in reflection. And see if you too can discover those parts of yourself that you have been hiding. And you can embrace them in a way that is authentic, that is genuine, that is true to your character and to who you've created to be. And you can share that with another woman. Yeah. So I hope that there's something that I said or did that was helpful to you on today, because that's a part of my mission here. I had someone ask me, what kind of made you do a YouTube channel? Of course, they had their own thoughts about YouTube, and so do I. It was kind of intimidating, I'm being honest, to step out in this way. But I'm refusing to shrink anymore. I know that I have something to say. And if it's just one woman whose life or who is inspired in some way to be on her healing journey to wholeness and wellness, then I'm going to show up and do what I believe that I need to do. So I'm here to share experience, strength, and hope to all women who too have decided, I'm ready to embrace every piece of me. Why? Because every piece of me matters. Nothing gets wasted. The good, the bad, the indifferent, the right, the wrong, the weak, or the strong part. I'm embracing all of me. And so share this with another sister, auntie, cousin, niece, big mama and them. Yeah. Share this, like, subscribe. I'm not here for the likes or the subscriptions, but it is helpful to get the message and the mission out to other women who are waiting to embrace every piece of them too. So I'll see you next week. Until then, be well and continue to remind yourself every piece of me matters. I'll see you next week.